In my previous video, I have already discussed the concept of risk and return and how to implement them for the selection of shares for investment. That means we have already learned how to compute risk and return. Today I am going to discuss the concept of diversification for reduction of risk. First of all, portfolio. What do you mean by portfolio? Portfolio is nothing but investment in more than or one share or assets. Now, why portfolio is formed? Portfolio is formed basically for reduction of risk. One of them is diversification. What is diversification? Diversification is a way of spreading investment in more than one shares or assets for reduction of risk. Today I will discuss the concept of diversification in detail. The discussion will be made through an example. Suppose the returns relating to share A, B and C are given as follows. Return for share A, 5 years figures are given here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Returns of share for first year is 10%, then 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. In this way, the returns are noted here. The returns for share B similarly is noted here. First year return is 50%, then 40% in this way. And the return for share C is also noted here. First year 10%, second year 20%, and fifth year is 50%. The empirical data have been taken to explain the concept of diversification. Now see, what is the average return for share A? You know how to compute it. You just add all the returns and divide by 5. That means 30% is the average return for share A. For share B, what is the average return? That is also 30%. And for C also, the average return is 30%. By this time, you have already learned how to compute the risk. That is standard deviation. That's why I am not going to discuss in detail how to compute it. You can check it. The standard deviation for risks for the returns of share A is 14.14%. It has been calculated. You can check it. For share B again, the risk is same 14.14%, and share C also the the risk is 14.14%. That means the data has been taken in such a way that the returns for share A, returns for share B and returns for share C are same, which are 30%. And the risks are also same for each shares. For share A is 14.14%, for share B the return is same and C also same. Now the question has come for diversification. How I can reduce the risk but the returns remain same? For that we have to discuss. In this column, last column, it is shown the portfolio AB. This is the column for portfolio AB. Portfolio means here mixing of A and B. That means you are investing your entire money not in only one share. You are investing your money in two shares proportionately. That is 50% of your total amount has been invested in share A, and 50%, that is half of the entire money, has been invested in share B. In this way you have formed a portfolio. Then we'll see what will be the return and risk. And here another type of portfolio has been formed, that is AC. How it is formed? 50% of your investment money you have invested in share A, and the remaining 50% you have invested in share C. In this way you have formed a portfolio. Then we will check what will be the status of your total return or risk. 50% means, suppose just arbitrarily I am mentioning, say you have 1 lakh of rupees, then 50,000 you have invested in share A and 50,000 in share B, in the case of AB. In the case of only share A, you are investing the entire 1 lakhs of money to share A. This is the difference between individual share and portfolio. 50% in share A and 50% in share B. Then what would be the return? First year return, the half of this return, that is half of 10 means 5%, and B is 50%, that is half of it, that is 25%. 5 plus 25 is 30%. You can calculate in this way, half into 10, that means weightage is half, that's why half into 10 plus half into 50 is equal to 30%. In this way, second year, how much return you will get? If you invest through portfolio AB, half of 20 plus half of 40, that means 30%. In this way you can check. I have computed the returns for all the years in the case of portfolio, and the return is 30%. You can check for fifth year also, half of 50 plus half of 10, that is 25 plus 5 is 30. That means every year you will get the returns 30 if you invest in the portfolio form. That means average return against 30%. But what is the advantage here? You see, here the risk is 0. There is no standard deviation. The standard deviation is 0. There is no deviation. Every year the return is 30%. That means if you mix in the form of portfolio, that is 50% of share A and 50% of share B, then you will see the return remains same, 30%, as when you have invested entire money in share A, share B, share C, the return is 30%. But in this case also the return is 30%, but the risk has been reduced to 0. That is the advantage. That is diversification. Diversification means spreading of your money not to only one share, but here in two shares, share A and share B, 50% to share A, 50% of your money to share B. In this way if you invest, then you can reduce the risk even to 0. Now check for combination of AC, this portfolio. Then what is the return for first year? A and C, half of 10 and half of C is half of 10, that means 10%. In this way again I am showing for fourth year, say half of 40 and half of 40, that means 40%, 20 plus 20. In this way you can also find out the returns for the portfolio AC. And what is the risk? Again you have to calculate the standard deviation for all the returns. Here already I have shown 10, 20, this is the case, that is 14.14%. That means if you form the portfolio AC, then the return remains same. At the same time, risk is also same. You cannot reduce the risk with this combination. Only this combination, here only this combination, you can reduce the risk even to zero. This is the big advantage for diversification. You need not to sacrifice your return, but at the same time you can reduce the risk even to zero. That means always you will get the return this percent, that is 30%. This is called diversification. One thing, if you observe the data, then where this advantage you are getting, that means this is the portfolio AB. If you just see the return figures, year-wise return figures, you see this is just reverse. This and this is just reverse. When it is 10 and this is 15 this year, just reverse. When 20, then 40. That means the correlation between the returns of share A and share B is negatively correlated, inversely related, and here it is purely -1, because the ranking, the arrangement is just reverse of this. This is the situation when you can reduce the risk even to zero, but in practice not necessarily it would be 100% -1 correlation of the shares, but still you can reduce the risk. That will be discussed how and when in my next video. This is the basic concept of diversification. That means by diversification or forming a portfolio, mixing 50% of share A and 50% of your investment money to share B, you can reduce the risk even to zero. And this is the diversification of shares. Now, for better understanding and to take the case of probabilistic, I have taken another problem. Just see the data minutely. Here the return is given. Two stocks are taken for discussion. Return of stock A and return of stock B. And this is the different state of the economy. Economy may change. There are several states of the economy. Say this is growth, this is decline, in this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 state of the economy may happen in future. This is the probabilistic case, that is future case, that's why. And the occurrence probability for each state is same, that is probability is 0.20. If you add all these probabilities for 5 years, then you will get total 1.00, which is the total value of probability. That means the probability of occurrence of each state of the economy is given, and return for each state of the economy is given for stock A, and this is for stock B. For stock A, if the economic status is 1, the return will be 15%. It is forecasted value, but taking all the data, it has been calculated. If the state of the economy is 2, then the return will be negative. And in this way, all the returns, if the state of the economy is 5th, that is the best, so say not best, best is 35%, it will be 25%. This return is given. In the case of stock B, these are the returns for each state of the economy. Now, my question, how you'll invest your entire money? Should you invest your entire money to only stock A or only stock B, or in mix? If you mix, then you have to form a portfolio that is given in the last column. Say 50% of your investment money you have invested in stock A, and 50% of your entire money is invested in stock B. In this way you have formed a portfolio A plus B. This is shown portfolio AB. It is actually not printed here. This is the portfolio A plus B. Then you can see the return will be half of 15% plus half of minus 5, that is 5%. Half of 15% means 7.5 minus 2.5, that is 5%. Because weightage is half of the entire money, in this case I am showing half 17.5 plus 2.5, that is 20%. In this way, this is the return for each state of economy if you form a portfolio. Now, first graphically I am showing how it is reflected in the graph paper. I am taking first the return of stock A. The first is 15%. This is the state of the economy in this x-axis, and this is the return. So first I am showing the graph A, that the return of stock A. First state of the economy, the return is 15%. This is 10. This is the point, first point. Second state of the economy, minus 5. Minus 5 means where it is second. This is the minus 5. 0 is this. This is the minus second. This is the second state of the economy. And third, again 5%. 5% means state 5 minus 5. Then third state of the economy is 5%. Third, this is the graph A. This is the graph A. This is your 15%, then minus 5, and then stock A is 5%. What is stock A? This is the 15% stock A, and then 35%. This is a 5%. This is 5%. 15 minus 5. This is plus 5, and then 35. This is the position of 35%. You see, this is 30, 35, and lastly 25%. This is 20, and then this is the graph for return from stock. That means how fluctuation it is you are seeing. If you plot the graph for return on stock B, first minus 5 for B, this is the minus 5, then 15, this is the 15, then 25, this is 25, in this way, then again 5, then 35. That means if you invest your entire money in stock A, the fluctuation is like this. It is not steady. For B is also, it is very fluctuating. Now plot the returns of portfolio AB, mixing 50% of A and 50%. This is the return. First 5%, this is 5%, then again 5%, second state of the economy, then 15%, this is 15%, then 20%, this is 20%, then 30%. You see, for this case, the fluctuation or volatility is very less. The graph is very steady. But if you invest your money, entire money to stock A only, share A only, then it is highly fluctuating. If you invest your entire money in B only, it is also very fluctuating. That means if you mix and form a portfolio, in this case 50%, 50%, it is better from the point of view of risk. It is very steady, your return. For getting the full idea, that means return and risk also, now we'll see through calculation in quantitative way. For this is stock A. This is, I have already discussed earlier how to compute the expected return. Simply that formula is applied here. 0.2 is the probability into return plus 0.2 is the probability of occurrence. This is the return. In this way you will get 15% return. If you have any confusion, please check it from my previous video of return, where it is calculated with the formula. For stock B also same formula has been applied and the return is same 15%. And for the case of portfolio also the return is same. That means if you invest your entire money to stock A, or if you invest your entire money to stock B, or you have invested your money in the form of portfolio, then the return will be same for all the cases. Now, what is the position of risk? That is calculated here numerically or quantitatively. Sigma A square is the variance and sigma A is the standard deviation. So the formula I have already discussed in my previous video, how to compute the standard deviation in the case of probabilistic situation. Same process and formula has been applied here. This is the mean value, expected value is 15%, that's why this is the return minus expected return whole square into probability 0.2. In this way, for each case the deviation is calculated and square it. In this way, the return, we have calculated the variance value, and if you square root it, then the standard deviation or risk has been calculated as 14.14. For the case of stock B also, if you invest the entire money to stock B, the return will be, the risk will be 14.14%. But in the case of portfolio, that is A plus B, in this case the expected return is 15, and if you subtract the return value, the expected return from the return value 5 is the deviation, square it 0.2. In this way, if you calculate the risk, you will see 9.49. That means you can reduce the risk. Previously the risk was 14.14%, the deviation was plus minus this, plus minus, but in this case the fluctuation is less, the risk is less. In this way, by applying the concept of portfolio and spreading your whole money to more than one share, that is to form with the help of portfolio, you can reduce the risk. This concept is called diversification. When the risk could be reduced, now in my next video I will discuss all these points. When the risk could be reduced, we have already seen you cannot reduce the risk in any situation. Some certain situation only you can reduce the risk. You can reduce the risk. When you can reduce the risk and how much risk you can reduce, and what would be the proportion of mix, best proportion of mix to get the best result for reduction of risk, everything I will discuss in the next video. Thank you. Thank you.